Hi guys, welcome to Daria's Strategy channel. My name is Daria, and today we will talk about recruiting in Web3. It's a very interesting and valuable topic, and today I'm happy to present Dominik. Dominik, hello.
Thank you for that, Daria. It's great to be here. And to introduce myself shortly, I'm Dominik Golab. I'm a Web3 recruiter. It's one of those things that I would never expect to become a Web3 recruiter. It's one of those things that just came out of nowhere. I've seen an opportunity for I'm gonna apply because blockchain space is incredible space. It's very interesting space and it's always developing. I'm originally coming from Poland and I moved to Scotland 13 years ago. I actually came here for holidays for 1 month and somehow I just really enjoyed being here to the point that I thought, okay, I'm going to stay for 3 months. Then 3 months turned into 1 year and suddenly 13 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place. Maybe the only thing that we are missing in Scotland is the weather. So that's the one thing that you would see a lot of British people always going for holidays in Spain or somewhere in the hot countries because we barely get any sun. Like I always say to candidates I speak with that we typically get 7 days of summer in the year.
Can you tell a little bit about your path in blockchain? How did you enter this space?
I think with Web3, it's like pretty much anybody that got itself into Web3 is that I got introduced by my friend when I used to live in Perth, like a small town in middle of Scotland. My friend was very interested in the cryptography, so he started showing me really cool, interesting project focused on cryptography, and then he got me involved into blockchain space and cryptocurrencies back in 2017. So I was very fresh to that. Probably for the first 3 years, I didn't have idea how blockchain works. So I just understood, the layer of what projects are focused on. But I think I got more technical knowledge about it since the beginning of COVID, when you had more time to actually spend hours into like educate yourself and get to know more about what is actually blockchain, what is the underlying technology of NFTs, and yeah, it's definitely a fascinating space. Since 2017, it changed a lot. And for any viewers that probably been in that space since then, you've seen everything from the bull market, from the bear market, and how everything shifted from what it used to be and how it is now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can you explain the difference between recruiting in Web2 and Web3? Do you see the differences?
Interesting. I've actually had a conversation yesterday with my friends about that because I've never had any experience in Web2 recruitment. However, whenever somebody mentions to me, oh, you work in recruitment, so it must be very difficult, challenging space. I've never found it like that here. I think in the Web3, people are more open, and I'm speaking about candidates, I'm speaking about clients as well. And it doesn't seem to be like a traditional, formal, corporate style place where you come in fully suited and you always have to make sure that everything you say is right. Here is a slightly more open, more relaxed space, and I've noticed that while speaking with candidates and also with clients, as a lot of CEOs and co-founders typically come in from developer experience working already in the Web3 space. So I definitely would say that with Web3 recruitment, it's a really interesting place where you can speak with so many people that are as passionate as you are about blockchain technology, about a variety of different projects. So one of my questions I like to ask candidates is, what's your favorite project? And then we just start conversation, and suddenly it doesn't really feel like an interview that you have with them. It's more of actual conversation, but two passionate people about the industry.
As a recruiter, you meet many people. And what do you pay attention to first of all when you meet new person?
Yeah, and Daria, in terms of that, I think when I approach a person, first, obviously, I'm trying to find somebody relevant to the position and the requirements that we have. But when I start speaking with them, what's very important for me is somebody that's enthusiastic. Sometimes you get with developers that they're more introverts, so it's not as easy to just to start conversation with with a explosion and superb energy, but I like to speak with people and try to extract their passion and get them to talk and light up that spark about what they're passionate about, what do they find interesting in the space, what they really look for when approaching new opportunities in the space. Because that way we can always shape that conversation into, this is what my client is doing, this is what they're focusing in their solution, and then assess together if this is something that they're really interested in. Because my position, I'm always trying to make sure that the position that I represent is something that they're actually really interested and passionate about. Because I think a lot of recruiters from this space will share that it's better to have somebody that's really interested in opportunity and passionate about the project and solution than somebody that would be like, oh yeah, I'll just go for the interview and then not really be interested to follow through to the next stage.
And let's talk about current situation on the beer market. What can you say about this period, this time of in terms of recruiting? Do you feel some difficulties in conversations with companies, first of all, and with candidates?
There's definitely been a shift in the market in terms of how everything is working in comparison to last year. Definitely, right now there's a more focus on developers and development of the product, since retail investors now are not putting as much money into the project as they used to. Now there's been a shift into focusing more on building that product. So you'll notice that a lot of positions right now in the space are usually focused on engineering or development, DevOps, for example, positions, where there's a focus on infrastructure. Because what they want to do, from my understanding, at least, is to build that product so it's ready when there's a next bull run coming up and there's more interest around crypto space. They have a ready product, they have something functional that's got a good use case, and they can provide a solution to other businesses or retail investors.
Yeah. So no marketing positions, only developers.
It's quite interesting. I thought that there would be some marketing positions as well, but they do happen. They're obviously startup companies, but need to hire everybody in different sectors. But already more established companies will try to push the product and the product roadmap before there's a time to actually advertise it and promote it to the retail investors. So the market is slightly different. A lot of people say to me, is the market actually quite slow now given the crypto market crash? But actually, from what we see, the market is actually really, really busy. It's just the things that we don't really see behind the scenes, and the way that they push forward as well with the product.
Which candidates will be in demand under any circumstances? So professions or skill set?
But I think developer positions are always going to be there when it comes to blockchain space. And that's one of the things that we've noticed, that regardless of the market conditions, developers are always well demanded. And during the current market conditions, you probably see that the prices are slightly low now, the salaries are much lower. Because there have been so many layoffs, so the market is oversaturated right now with more people looking for jobs. And obviously companies don't have as many positions to fill in, but they notice that the salaries are much lower now. And I think typically when the bull market happens and it's much busier, that's when the prices start to go up. But in terms of the positions, I think sales, it's something that's always going to be in demand, because as much as you want people to develop the product, you need somebody as well to sell that product, either if it's to retail investor or if it's to other businesses, like financial services firms, for example, if you have a solution that you can provide for them using digital assets.
Maybe talking about skill set, which skill set or which mindset will be in demand?
Difficult answer to give, because that changes all the time. And I think blockchain space is very dynamic environment when things move very quickly. So we've noticed last year that Solidity was very high in demand. Suddenly there is other positions like focus on Rust development. And now we've seen new languages being built all the time. So predicting the market in terms of, what's going to be popular right now, it's difficult to say. I know that depends on the project and what they focus on. If it's focused on data, you'd see that some companies are still using Python, and then you see other companies moving to Rust now. So I think Rust is probably the most popular right now. And I see a lot of developers trying to move and shift towards that. But then you've got gaming companies and on blockchain that are still using C++. I think it's on this an EOS blockchain. So there's variety of different languages, depends on what project is focusing on. If it's a data layer infrastructure, most likely it's going to be Python. Then you have some companies using Rust, as it's probably the most efficient language at the moment. But then a lot of smart contracts are still getting built on Solidity. So I think that's the three languages that I could give that's the most popular right now. But again, we probably will see within a few months that there's another languages coming up and booming again. I think that what happens in the market right now, because we see there's a lot of people applying, that means that companies are always quite busy when it comes to interviewing people. So they typically will interview over 100 people a week. And what I've noticed that clients like is somebody not only that's prepared for the interview, that did some research and understands the company, but somebody that's very enthusiastic. Because you get a lot of people that just come in on another interview number 57, and a lot of people are burned out at this point. And it's unfortunately quite sad to see as well, because there's a lot of people applying for jobs, but at the same time, a lot of companies do like to see somebody that's first prepared for the interview, somebody that did the research, somebody that's very enthusiastic and curious. So somebody that will ask you questions as well. How do you feel about the current market? What do you do? How long you've been in the company? And somebody that can ask questions as well about the technology. So somebody that did the reading, seeing that, okay, this is the solution you're providing. I actually have some questions. How do you go around it? So definitely somebody that's curious, enthusiastic, that's the main two things. And somebody that did research the company, that's probably the main third thing.
And what can a candidate do to stand out from the crowd?
Definitely something I've noticed, and it is not something that every company will apply, but people like candidates, for example, developers that do have a lot of like open source projects. So somebody that does have a quite busy GitHub or Stack Overflow, because that way they can evaluate before the call in your technical level, how long you've been working with a specific language and what solutions have you created. So open source projects, that's been a big interest in a lot of clients. What stands out is typically good understanding of the industry. So always staying up to date to the latest trends, what's been developing in the industry, where are the main areas of focus right now, what are the other solutions that can be provided for the company that, for example, on the client side, they didn't think about it. So somebody that does have some ideas as well that can improve the current technology and the solutions that they provide.
Is it true that Web3 companies are under this employer snobbery? So many companies trying to hire people only from prominent projects or with strong personal brand, with thousands followers on Twitter, for example, or on big channels on Discord. So do you know about this, or you haven't heard?
I think it depends on the company and the project. Some people will prefer to select candidates that come in from a big companies. But you notice that there's other requirements that, for example, startup companies will prefer somebody with startup experience, because coming from a big established company where there is a structure that you work on one thing and one thing only, and you can't really contribute to other areas. A lot of startups try to focus on somebody that actually work in that startup environment, that did contribute to different things and wear multiple hats. So I would say it definitely depends on the project and what they're ideally looking for, because sometimes they want to position that this person's got, for example, an understanding of hierarchy in the company and large organizations. And some people would prefer somebody with more of a startup experience that can help to develop the company alongside with them. Because you notice that in startup business, you do kind of do everything. And even if your position with developer, if you can contribute to, for example, developer relations, or you can help with BD or marketing, you can help on social media strategy, you notice that that's usually what they want in startups. In bigger companies, definitely they want to focus on somebody that's got that specific niche, and that's where they can contribute to that.
Mm-hmm. So did you have a request, for example, like, Dominik, find me a person with 20,000 followers on Twitter or more?
Actually, I did have a client that did tell me specifically they want somebody that's highly technical, but also with a large Twitter following. It didn't really contribute towards their technical experience, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, it raises question, why do you need somebody on Twitter that's going to have like over 10,000 followers, unless every employee of that company is just going to use their Twitter towards trying to spread out their project. But yeah, I did get some strange requests in the blockchain space before. That's not your usual search that you do. But I think it's quite exciting as well that you get a new challenge that you've never came across. And that's something I've realized after working for my company, that you start enjoying the new challenges more than what you used to. Because first time you always approach a new role that, oh wow, I've actually never researched that before. So it is quite stressful experience at the beginning, but once you get comfortable with it, it's all fine, and you can resource a lot of people, or you can find a lot of good candidates on the market. Now, after being in the company for over a year and a half, I've realized I actually enjoy the new roles where, it's a new niche area. Nobody ever searched for that before. And it's like a fresh start, because you tend to find really interesting people and you get to learn more things in the blockchain space. Like we've got zero knowledge proofs as an example, algorithmic trading, we've got data layers, we've got a lot of, I think there's like a new programming language called Cairo. That's another thing that's just became very interesting suddenly, because you've never heard about it and suddenly you want to find some people that do have it.
Yeah, so did you find that famous developer or no?
I did find, I think it's finding a common ground as well of somebody that, for example, didn't have a high technical experience, but I did find somebody that had a good Twitter following, and they were more of teachers that were teaching people about blockchain technology. And that's when I found somebody that actually have a very strong following, but they're not developers themselves. So we had to find the middle ground with the client that, okay, I think this is the person that you'll be very interested in. It's not ideal, it's not a perfect match, but finding developer who's also a Twitter influencer, I think we'll need to speak to Elon Musk about that.
Yes. It's a quite rare thing to find such person. I think in marketing niche, it can be easier than in developers niche. Okay, so let's speak about AI. Do you use some AI instruments in your work to find candidates or to separate candidates maybe?
Yeah. I thought this question would come up, and interesting, when ChatGPT came out, I did try to use it for a bit just to see how can I tailor searches towards my benefit and find relevant people. But I think I've quickly came to realization that ChatGPT is not really trained to be a recruiter, or the data that they have, it might not be sufficient to help you with that search. So I do use it in daily life on a variety of different things, but I don't think that it is useful in recruitment yet. Perhaps what it might need is OpenAI to feed more data in terms of recruitment, but then how do you get that data? So that's an interesting concept as well, because you need to try to make sure that you don't give it a confidential data, because obviously I think we've heard recently that happened with Samsung, that the engineers were feeding the data, the private confidential data to OpenAI. And that's the one thing that when I first got it, I was like, actually, I don't think this is something that we should be doing. Even if you try to make it help towards getting a better search results, I think we need to be careful as well. How do we use that technology? Because like we had with Google takes a lot of data from us. And I think it is in a sense happening with OpenAI. You give it prompts, you give it questions, also you feed it data, and they use that data to train the models to work better. But we need to make sure, where do we put the border between, what data should I be giving to OpenAI and ChatGPT, and what shouldn't?
Yeah, free usage is very dangerous. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Have you used it yourself before?
I use some AI instruments in my work and ChatGPT also, but I use it for searching. Not to spend much time like to find some generic typical things.
It's one of those things that will get improved and will get better. I think now they've released a GPT-4, so that's much more intense and much more advanced. I'm still yet to give it a try, but I'm trying to make sure that I can prepare some prompts, write them down, and actually see how well can they answer. Because I know they're trying to restrict it as well. So and what information can it give, what it can't. So I think that's important as well to see how well can we use it towards our advantage.
What Web3 or blockchain projects are you following now, and why? What do you like?
Oh, wow. A lot of people will be chasing me for this, but I'm a big believer of Ripple. And I know a lot of people are always wondering why Ripple. It's been one of the first projects that I've started following. And I know that things been going great at the beginning. Then obviously the price dropped down. A lot of people are relying on the current SEC case to drop down. I think it's next month that we should hear a conclusion of this case and see if it's gonna affect the price. If personally, I don't think it might affect it as much because Ripple provides so many different solutions in the market already. So if the price was about to go up, it would already go, regardless of the SEC case against Ripple, or if that case wasn't existing. So I'm curious to see how things going to develop. I'm a big fan of Ripple and what they've been building. Even had the opportunity to speak to some people that work at Ripple, and it's just purely just to get their experience. How do they enjoy working there? Because it is a company that have always fascinated me. In terms of the other projects, I did attend a Bitcoin conference last year, and I was just purely focused on Bitcoin rather than blockchain. So I've noticed that you don't want to mention any word that's not related to Bitcoin. Like I did mention Ethereum once, and you start having so many eyes looking at you, like, okay, nope. Everybody here is Bitcoin maximalist. So definitely Bitcoin and Ethereum are other projects that I'm always follow. In terms of the smaller projects, there's so many projects, and it's always a bit of like, it's a lot of risk if you invest money or you try to follow them and suddenly you see that, the project didn't work out because, they ran out of funding or the solution didn't really hit the market. So I don't know if anybody heard about VeChain, but VeChain's been one of my favorites from early days. And but you do have so many coins. What is your favorite? What do you follow yourself?
I'm following zk project, so I'm following zkSync, yes, and I'm in love with this battle between zkSync and Polygon zk because I was following this mainnet battles, so it was very interesting. Also, I'm following different DeFi projects. Some of them I use, like Uniswap. I like their community. I like their marketing. So, I'm following projects mostly from marketing side because it's interesting to follow how they position themselves, how they present. So I like Uniswap from this side and from the side of working with community, with DAO. Mm-hmm. And everything around this. Also, I'm following Aave. I'm following Curve. So different DeFi. So DeFi, I think it's really nice, and they do really nice marketing and really good, because that's why I am following them. And also, like my guilty pleasure, I like to follow some not no name, but some not famous projects on Twitter. But I'm looking for projects, for example, some protocols followed by famous guys. who invested in these no-name projects, for example, and I'm following them. So maybe in future they will be interesting, and it's I think it's like my little guilty pleasure, like a marketer.
I think it's important as well, you mentioned from a marketing perspective, is how do companies interact with community? Because, even during the bear market, it's important to, keep that attention on the project, because a lot of people will just pull out the money, forget about it. And, it's important, how do you encourage people to interact in the blockchain space, even during difficult challenges like we have right now? Interesting, you mentioned Uniswap. I actually got a notification an hour ago, just before our call, that Uniswap just released an iOS application. So I did just download it now, and probably gonna give it a try tonight, because I think Uniswap's got really interesting potential, and definitely it's one of those top projects in the blockchain space that did survive, the bear market, and they're again in the bear market for the second time or even third time now. And that they're still keeping up. So definitely a good project to follow.
Yeah. I like how they managed that situation in community voting. Yes, you heard about the situation when when community voted for BNB chain for version 3. And A16Z said that no, we don't want, but community voted and they realized it on BNB chain. So it's really, for me, it's like a perfect model of democracy. All these DAOs and all this governance. So for me, it's like perfect democracy as it is.
Yeah, you're giving a power to the people again. So I think that's very relevant, and this is why a lot of people want to be in a blockchain space, because you've realized it's all about the community, all about the people. And I think that the recent drama that I've seen happening on Twitter was around Arbitrum, and I think the DAO community voted towards something, and they decided not to do it. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Promo video about Arbitrum, and it looks very strange. It looks weird for me as a marketer. It looks weird. So if you haven't seen it, you can watch it on my channel, my analysis of it, and I'm agree with you that
No, I think if you want to give power to the people, and you want to respect their voice, and I think that's quite important in the blockchain space, especially moving towards DAO. If you set up the DAO, you want to make sure that you respect their choice and what they're voting for. As this is the reason why you started DAO.
Yeah, because these people gave you their money. They voted for you with their money. So what is your day without? Do you have your work rituals or traditions as a recruiter, maybe, or in general in your career path?
It is something that's quite popular right now in Scotland, is vaping. I don't know if that's quite popular in the rest of the Europe, but they're trying to replace cigarettes now with the electronic cigarettes, and that's something that I got myself involved too quickly. So I try to take like regular breaks just in between, because you spend so many hours in front of the computer, in front of the screen. So you want to make sure as well that you go outside, you take some fresh air. But I always say taking fresh air while you're smoking an electronic cigarette.
Fresh air with smell of watermelon or coconut
flavored oxygen. So in terms of starting my day, definitely a good cup of coffee, because getting that energy in the morning to start getting into work. I like to structure it that I focus on searches more during morning and during the day, and then later afternoon just straight get into the calls, because time goes fast as well, and suddenly you realize, it's the end of the day already.
Some interesting traditions when you find the perfect candidate and you do something, I don't know, how you celebrate.
Celebrations. I think I probably celebrate more once there's a placement made, and we managed to secure a candidate for the position. I'm a big foodie person, so I always like to go out and try different restaurants, the different cuisine. So my type of celebration, once that happens, is always target a new restaurant, either a fresh restaurant that just opened or something that I haven't tried before, and that's probably the way for me to celebrate. And uh, it's always great news to hear that your favorite candidate got a job, because some people will look at it from more sales perspective. I always try to look more of how can I help people to find a good job. And even if sometimes it doesn't happen, and that happens a lot, you have to try to manage as well that, because you don't want to deliver bad news to a candidate that he didn't get the job, but at the same time you want to keep a really good relationship, because at the same time it was a great experience going through the process with someone, and you get to know people. So I think it's good to keep those long-lasting relationships. But yeah, once there's a good news and you make a placement with somebody, yeah, restaurants is usually my go-to. Not a big drinker nowadays, so food is my pleasure.
Oh, which cuisine do you like most?
I think Japanese, and I've noticed, and for example, when I go back to Poland, there's a big, the big Japanese culture right now opening up in Poland, and I've noticed, and for example, in UK, you do get a lot of Japanese restaurants now. So I'm a big fan when it comes to ramen. And that's something that I've been drinking quite a lot. And I've tried to make ramen myself, but I think there's so many things involved. And I think you need to let it stew as well for a couple of hours, like I think 6 to 8 hours. So I don't usually have patience. I usually just want to eat straight away.
Yeah, it's difficult to cook.
Yeah.
I never tried. I know that you have a dog, so maybe you have some other hobbies, or you walk with your dog, or what recharges you?
When I came into Scotland, I fall in love very quickly with the nature around here. And it's something that you don't really get in Poland, for example, because it's full of big cities, metropolis, and the greenery is almost gone at this point. In Scotland, it seems like nature is very well respected, and that's one of the things that I've really liked about the place here. So anytime that I want to recharge, or even during the weekends, I try to go hiking, try to go for walks, and anywhere that I can take the dog as well. That's always quite handy, especially that you've got so much greenery around Scotland. And Edinburgh is this very special place that's a mix of historical and cultural background retained. Even if it's a big, massive city, you don't see it turned into metropole like you would see with London, for example. There's still a lot of greenery left, and you've got so many different options. You've got a beach nearby. You've got a lot of national parks. You've got hills that are very close by. So even you can rent a car and just go for a drive.
Dominik, what advice would you give to people entering Web3 or blockchain sphere, people who want to find their job or to start their career, to switch? What can you say them?
What I would advise, have a look and do a lot of research in terms of the fresh startup companies, because those fresh startup companies are usually more interested in people that didn't get into blockchain space yet, but they want to. And that's where they will give you that opportunity to interact with them and, get more exposure regarding blockchain, smart contracts, the whole technology behind it. And once you start getting that experience from the smaller companies, that's usually helps you to get into bigger companies in the Web3 space. That's something I've seen that typically is the way forward when getting somebody transition from a Web2 to Web3 space. But also there are companies that are hiring people that come in from outside of industry, somebody that didn't work with blockchain before. So I would say always stay curious, follow latest updates in terms of new companies, companies that just secured the funding. Because if you approach them proactively, even on LinkedIn, connect with them, start messaging with various people, you get referred, and then suddenly you might even end up getting a job over there.
A network is king, I think, in this. And my last question will be how you develop your networking.
I definitely develop it the way that I try to connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn, and usually I try to go after my favorite project. So if I see a project that I really like, I read about it, and I actually feel like this is something that I can really get behind. Then I start connecting with people, and even if it's somebody from the C-suite, like chief executive officer or co-founder, I always try to connect with them and just start conversation about about the project. If I show more curiosity, I think that's usually much better because you want to get to know the project. I don't want to message somebody and straight be like, hey, I can actually help you with recruitment services, which obviously we have to do as well. But it's more about being curious and interacting with the community, because this is the way that Web3 space been built. It's all about the people. And the more we look at it this way as well, like people who actually came into this space because they're passionate about blockchain space, passionate about the technology that can revolutionize our lives. And that's when I think it's the best way to connect with people. And once you show that, a lot of people want to be connected with you and want to start interacting. So definitely interaction on posts that you see on LinkedIn, connecting with people from companies you really like, and just starting a conversation. I think LinkedIn is it's the best platform to do that. And it's something that I never truly appreciated until I started working in this company. And that's something that I'm really proud of, that I found LinkedIn and start utilizing this tool to essentially communicate with people and start meeting new people. Because what you'll find fascinating in the blockchain space is sometimes you see a project that you really like, and from 1 second, you transition into actually speaking with the co-founder of that company. You wouldn't get that in Meta. You wouldn't start speaking with Mark Zuckerberg suddenly. You wouldn't reach out to him on Instagram. Hey, I like your content, and just start conversation with him. I think that's more possible in the blockchain space. When you're more passionate about what they do, you get the opportunity either via Discord or LinkedIn. You get opportunity to speak to very important people and decision makers in those companies that you never have opportunity in a traditional market.
Thank you very much, Dominik, for your experience, for sharing your thoughts. It's really valuable for audience, I am sure. So, guys, I'll leave the links to Dominik's social profiles under this video, and you can follow him, and you can ask him if you want something, or you can send him your CV. Maybe yes, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Break on CVs. Yeah, I'm always happy to chat to new people.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a job, and especially if you're a Rust developer or Solidity developer, Dominik will be happy to make a conversation with you.
Thanks for having me, Daria. It was really interesting, and definitely looking forward to see next content and more videos.